Hey everyone, my name is Matt McCormick. I'm from Glasgow, Scotland, and I'm a member of the GB Park and Pipe snowboard team. So you're probably wondering how I managed to get into snowboarding, given that I'm from Glasgow in Scotland where there's not very much snow. Fortunately enough, there's actually a dry ski slope just down the road from me. A dry ski slope, if you don't know what it is, it's basically like a hill with these plastic strips running down it. Some of them are made of a material called Dendex, which is kind of like diamond shaped with these kind of bristles a bit like a toothbrush poking up from underneath. There's also another material which is a lot safer and a lot better called Snowflex. It's basically the same but without the kind of diamond holes in it. It's completely covered, and there's also actually a little bit of padding underneath the Snowflex stuff, so that's really good because it makes it a lot less painful when you fall. Anyway, yeah, so when I was about 6 years old, I went up to Beijing Ski Club with my family to learn to ski. We all learned to ski, me, my little brother, my older sister Louise, my mum and my dad. Yeah, so we all learned to ski, but my older brother Danny was the only one out of all of us who was old enough to just start snowboarding from the get-go. And when you're like 6 or 7 years old, all you want to do really, or all I wanted to do really, was whatever my older brother Danny did. So I was basically just, the whole time I was learning to ski, I was really just fixated on getting on a snowboard as soon as I could. But unfortunately, they didn't have any snowboards small enough for me. A couple of years later, I'd finally grown enough, and yeah, they had boots small enough for me and a board small enough for me. So I went to my first snowboard lesson, and that was me off. So yeah, I then spent a lot of my teenage years at Beijing Ski Club, which was really good crack. There was a really good scene up there, plenty of other skiers and snowboarders kicking around that were really into freestyle, which was the kind of stuff that I like to do. If you don't know what freestyle snowboarding is, it's basically like going off jumps and things like that. That's probably the simplest way to explain it. I'll probably do another video later on that gives a bit more of an in-depth description of freestyle snowboarding and its kind of place in the kind of competitive world and the Olympics as well. But yeah, for now, it's basically like skateboarding on snow. And then we started entering a bunch of contests. There was the Scottish, it used to be called the Highlander and Lowlander series, which is basically just like the kind of competition circuit in the UK. It's pretty small, to be honest, but it was really good fun. It wasn't loads, but everyone who kind of was into the scene was really passionate about it, which was really awesome. And it was always great to kind of meet a lot of kind of like-minded people. When I think I got to about 15 or 16 years old, I moved up into the GB Junior Elite team, which basically meant I could travel a bit more with the full snowboard team, even if I was still in school. It basically allowed me that since I was in 4th and 5th year, I was still doing a lot of had my standard grades and my hires to do. But whenever I did have like a break in between, so maybe if I had a bit during the Easter holidays where I could go away, or if I could go away during the October week or something like that, I was able to go on snowboard trips with the full GB snowboard team. So after I finished my standard grades and hires, I started to focus a little bit more on my snowboarding and kind of kept up with my studies still, so I stayed on into the 6th year, but definitely started to focus a bit more on snowboarding, starting to do more international contests. Yeah, after I finished my 6th year, I then started doing Open University, so right now I'm doing a degree in maths and physics. Super exciting. I'm kind of trying to balance that along with travelling with the snowboard team. Since it's through the Open University, they basically just send me all my stuff. I've actually got it here. This year I'm doing this. Deterministic and stochastic dynamics. That's what I'm doing at the moment. And yeah, to be honest, I do actually really enjoy it, and it's cool to have something else to do at the same time as well as my snowboarding. So I'm not just thinking about it all the time, because I do think I'd burn out eventually. So I'm doing that as well, did Open University and snowboarding at the same time. And now this year, 2020, will be the first year where our qualifications will begin for Beijing 2022. It's only about a month now away from our first qualification event, which will be in Colorado in December, so hopefully that goes ahead. We were meant to have another one in November in China, but for obvious reasons, with coronavirus and everything, that had to be cancelled. Fingers crossed we'll be heading to Colorado at the start of kind of December time for our first World Cup of the season and the first qualification event for Beijing 2022. But in this video I wasn't actually going to spend too much time looking at kind of qualification process and all that stuff. I'll leave that to another video. But this being my first one, I thought I'd give you guys a bit of a rundown as to what I've been up to over the past few months and what I'm up to now in terms of training. I actually had a crash back in February while I was at a World Cup in Calgary and hit my head and managed to get myself a concussion, and I also broke my nose. But as you can see now, all fixed. Fortunately there was a doctor on site, so he just popped it back in place for me, which was really cool. And then usually with us we've got a really good support team within GB Snowsport, so I was basically going to just need to keep, it was looking like probably 2 weeks off of sport and then have like a phase return. Unfortunately I couldn't actually compete the contest, which I was a bit gutted about, but in the grand scheme of things it wasn't that big a deal. But then as I was just about to fly home and I was sat in the airport, all of a sudden these kind of strange symptoms started to come on and I started to kind of feel dizzy and a little bit, just kind of the best way I was able to describe it was just like this fuzziness feeling. Yeah, but I came home, didn't think it'd be that big a deal. I was trying to get over jet lag at the same time, so it was weird for me to be able to decide what symptoms were jet lag and which were the concussion. Eventually after like a week or so the jet lag had passed, but I was still getting symptoms, so that was pretty clear it was still because of the concussion, unfortunately. Luckily I had the support of the Scottish Institute of Sport. They were amazing with me. I had a bunch of doctors and physios taking care of me all along the way, but unfortunately with concussions there's not really much you can do with it. So eventually a month went by and I still wasn't better. I still had these symptoms, so I couldn't do any gym work or snowboarding, skateboarding, gymnastics stuff, all the kind of stuff that we usually do to help with our training. That was completely off the cards, so I was basically just hanging out in my room. To be honest, I couldn't really do very much. Lockdown had, I think, just been brought in. I think I'd maybe go out for a walk once a day and that was about it. 2 months went by, 3 months went by. Eventually it became pretty clear that this was maybe something that we should look into a little bit more, so the Institute of Sport in Scotland managed to sort me out with an appointment with a doctor, a neurosurgeon called Professor Belly, who's down in Birmingham, and unfortunately I couldn't go down and see him at first because his clinic was closed because of the pandemic, but he was very kind and had a phone call with me and chatted me through everything, which was really great actually, because up until that point I'd not really heard of many people having concussions that lasted really much longer than a couple weeks to a month. I'd had a few concussions in the past and none of them had lasted longer than 2 weeks at the absolute most. So when I'm getting like 3 or 4 months into it, I'm definitely starting to get pretty worried about the whole thing. But yeah, Professor Belly was really good with it and basically said stay put because there's not really much you can do with it, you just need to wait for it to pass. He did prescribe me a bunch of these really weird like head shaking exercises where I kind of had to like stare at a point on the wall and shake my head loads to help realign my vestibular system. I think he said something to do with my ears and my eyes and how during concussion they get like knocked off like out of sync or something like that. I waited and it continued. 5 months went by, 6 months went by. I eventually did get to go down and see him. He sorted me out with a really cool MRI on my head, which took about an hour. It gave me these really cool photos of my brain, which was pretty cool. And from the MRI it showed that there wasn't actually anything majorly wrong, you know, other than just the concussion. And from then on it was still just a waiting game. Then 7-8 months went by, started to feel a bit better slowly, the fuzziness is kind of clearing away. Maybe about 8 months in, I went back to see Professor Belly in Birmingham again at his clinic. He did some more tests on me to see how I was getting on and basically decided that although I did have some symptoms, he described them as being soft symptoms, so they weren't anything to really worry about. So I was able to start snowboarding again, which was really cool. And that pretty much brings me up to now. As soon as I got the go-ahead from the doctor to start snowboarding again, myself, my friend Harry and our other friend Billy, both of which are also members of the GB Park Pike team, drove out here to Austria to ride Hintertux Glacier, which is just a bit up the valley. Basically I'm going to be spending the next couple of weeks feeling things out again on my snowboard, getting back used to things a little bit. I do still have a couple of symptoms, but the doctor's saying I'll just need to manage them, don't push myself, ease into it slowly. I'm in contact daily with the GB Snowsport physio Ali, who's been taking amazing care of me, and yeah, I'm just really looking forward to getting back on my board again, seeing how it all goes, hopefully get in the air again, do some more jumping, and just generally get a bit closer to the kind of standard I was at before my injury. No idea how long it's going to take. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. But yeah, I'll just need to wait and see. I'll probably try to do a little video maybe showing you guys the day-by-day steps, or maybe every couple of days just the kind of riding I'll be doing, showing how my standard of riding is kind of slowly, fingers crossed, slowly improving day by day. But yeah, I'll try to get that done, and I guess I'll just put that here.
Good for you. That's me just wrapped up my second day here in Dubai for the Prime Park sessions. I had a really good couple of weeks in Hintertux, getting back on my board, feeling things out, doing a little bit of jumping and things like that. Now that I'm in Dubai, I think I'm probably at the stage where I can start to ramp things up a little bit, start to hit the bigger jumps, and just get a little bit closer to the standard I was at before my concussion, all the way back in February now. Yeah, really stoked with how it's been going. Happy with the progress in general. Looking forward to hopefully having another few days out here in Dubai. The park's really sick. The Prime Park guys have done an incredible job having everything shaped to perfection as always. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next few weeks out here. I think that'll kind of be the end of this video now. I was mostly hoping just to kind of go through my early stages of return to snow, and hopefully you guys have gotten a pretty good insight into that and how it's been for me. It's gone pretty well, so yeah, that's sweet. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure you like it. If you want to keep up to date with any upcoming videos from myself or any of the other GB athletes, make sure you subscribe to the GB YouTube channel. And if you guys have any other video ideas or vlog ideas, any questions about what it's like for me snowboarding as part of the GB Park and Pipe team, what it's like for me returning to snow, what it's been like being in the mountains and traveling during this coronavirus pandemic kicking off, yeah, just drop that in the comments below and I'll happily I'll do my absolute best to answer them. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next one.